You're Mr. Joe Diaz, right?
That's right.
Attorney at law?
That's right.
Okay. I've heard of you before.
I hope it's been good.
Nothing but good.
Yeah.
So go ahead and tell me some of the stories as you remember. Maybe you could start with your first memory of getting involved back when, what was it called? Albuquerque Family Health?
Yes. And about 40 years ago, I've known Priscilla Gonzalez for a lot of years. She and I have done a lot of political work together. And there were a couple of other ladies. It was Petra Saiz and Mela Anaya and Priscilla, who we used to work hard on Manuel Lujan's campaign. Manuel Lujan was a congressman. And we used to work his campaigns. And Priscilla and Petra and Mela used to help me campaign for him in the valley. And about 40 years ago, Priscilla called me and she said, Petra and I and Mela want to take you, we want to invite you to Mela's house. It was either Mela's house or Petra's house to have some chili. And those gals made the best chili in the world, and I live on chili. Okay, I got to have chili every day. So she said, if you'll come over for a chili dinner, we want to talk to you. So I went over to, it was either Petra Saiz's house or Mela Anaya's house. Okay, and I went there and they had a big pot of chili and beans, and they said, kids are having a hard time growing up in the North and South Valley, and they're growing up sick, and we need a clinic. Okay, and I said, well, there's several hospitals, you know. There's Lovelace and Presbyterian and St. Joe's. There's plenty of hospitals around. And they said, no, but kids in the valley aren't going to those hospitals, and they're growing up sick. And by the time they catch their illness, it's already too late, you know. So they said, we need a clinic in the valley. And I thought, nah, I said, you don't need a clinic, you know, that's expensive, you know. They said, we need $500,000 to start a clinic in the valley, okay. So I said, no. I said, well, let me think about it. So anyway, I didn't get back to him for a couple of months. And then Priscilla called again, and I thought, here's my opportunity to get some more good chili to eat, okay, because he said, come over, I want to feed you some chili again. So I went to one of their houses, I forget which one it was, and they had the same question. They said, we need $500,000 to start a clinic, and we need your help. And I said, well, let me see what I can do. Well, another couple of months went by, and I thought, Priscilla called me again, and I thought, hey, I get some more chili, you know. So we went, and they had the same thing. They said, you got to do something. We need $500,000 to start a clinic. So I said, well, we should. So I called Manuel Lujan, okay. And Manuel Lujan, I told him that, and he said, you know, he said, I got to tell you a little story. He said, St. Peter and Jesus, Chewy, were walking down a muddy road. And I still remember this story. He said, we're walking down a muddy road, and it'd been raining very hard, and the whole area was flooded. And he ran into a guy that was, his car was stuck in the mud, and he was kneeling beside the car praying, okay? And they kept walking and talking, like two friends do. Pretty soon they come across another guy whose truck was stuck in the mud, and he was trying to push it out. And Chewy said to, known as Jesus, said to St. Peter, let's help this guy, okay? And St. Peter said, well, okay, but why didn't we help the other guy? And Jesus said, because the other guy wanted me to do all the jale. He wanted me to do all the work. He was just praying. This guy's trying to help himself, so we need to help him. So Manuel said, these ladies are trying to help themselves, let's help them. He said, what I will do is get a team to come in from Health and Human Services, from Washington or wherever, and do a study to see if they really need, I hate to admit this, but I said, I don't think they need a clinic, you know. But he said, I hate to bother you. He said, no, let's look at it. So he sent a team in, and then Jimmy Nieto called me. And he said, this team has been here for a week, okay? And they're doing a study whether we need the clinic or not. He said, in order to show that the community is behind this clinic, we want to have a big matanza this coming Saturday. This was on a Wednesday, okay? He said, we want to have a big matanza and have the whole valley out, you know, 400 or 500 people, and 400 or 500 people was nothing for Mela and Priscilla to put a rally together. I mean, they were great at that. So and Petra, and so he said, we're going to have a matanza to show support. He says, can you get us 50 cases of beer? Okay. So I said, okay. So I called, this was on a Wednesday, I called George Maloof, okay? And George was on his way out to buy a basketball team in Houston, the Houston Rockets. And he said, meet me at the Four Seasons, okay, coffee shop. The Four Seasons is now called Radisson, I think it is, on Carlisle and Manal. He said, meet me there and I'll see what you want. George was a very good community helper. He always contributed to everything. And so I met him there, and he said, I'm in a real hurry because I'm leaving to buy the Rockets, okay? He said, so what do you need? I said, I need 50 cases of beer. He said, go in the lounge, okay, and tell them to give you 50 cases of beer, and I will replace it when I'm back Saturday night. So I did, and they said, if George Maloof said it, you got it. So I called Jimmy, they picked up the beer, and they had the big party on that Saturday. Okay. Saturday night, I think my recollection is right. George got back, and he went to cut the ribbon to open the Classic Hotel. It was brand new, and it was going to be opened, and he was going to cut the ribbon. And I believe that's where he had a heart attack and he died. Okay. And but he gave us a beer. So Manuel, with that report, okay, got the 500,000, and that's what started Centro Familiar, I think is what it was called at the time, and primary health clinic, and that's what got the ball rolling. And it was Priscilla and Petra and Mela that kept leaning on me and feeding me chili until they got their 500,000. Manuel Lujan, as a congressman, got the money for him. He got a grant. Okay, that's the way it got started. Okay. And then look at it now. You know, now they serve 60,000 people, and they have 300 employees, and so I'm glad that Manuel did what he did. I think it was about 40 years ago. Yeah. So that's the way it got started. You know.
So you've been a friend of First Choice for the rest of those years?
Well, I've had to, because Priscilla at that time asked for 500,000. Okay. Now she's asking for 8 million. Okay, to enlarge the clinic. So when she calls me, I'm really afraid to answer the phone because it's getting more and more. Priscilla has been a big pusher of the clinic. And I'll have to admit that if she hadn't have pushed me and those two other ladies, I probably wouldn't have done anything. But they're the ones that pushed me into it. And I thought they fed me enough chili, I owe it to them, you know. So that's what got the clinic started, yeah. And I think Priscilla's been with the clinic ever since. The other two ladies have since died, okay. And we used to work a lot of politics together and so on. They used to help me with Manuel Lujan. Manuel Lujan was probably the only Republican that used to win in the Valley, okay, and thanks to them, you know, and so that's what got the First Choice started as whatever it was called then, okay. I think it was Centro de Salud. I think it was the original name of it, okay, yeah.
What did the Congressman Lujan say about healthcare or the clinic? Do you remember him saying anything later?
Well, Manuel Lujan right away agreed with him that there probably was some help needed in the valley. And he said, I really think that kids aren't going to see a doctor until they're older, and by then whatever condition they had, especially diabetes, by then it's really entrenched, and they ought to be caught at an early age. So he was on board right away. And he said, he said, this is easy. Let me get a team out there, and they can do a study and see if it's really needed. The best that I remember, the team right away said yes. And they had that big get-together to impress them that the community was behind it, you know, because Manuel said, we need to show that the community is behind it, okay? So Priscilla and them got everybody going, and they got a good report. And I didn't take Manuel long, if I remember right, to get the funding. Okay. And
so after you dropped off the beer, what was the party like?
Well, it was
like?
it was like a picnic, you know. It was a festive atmosphere, and they did have a lot of people. Okay, I forget where it was. I think it was at a park, and over here in the South Valley somewhere, and it was a festive thing, you know. And they had all the food and everything was donated. Nothing was purchased. They didn't have any money, but the ladies fixed casserola, enchiladas, and all that kind of stuff, you know, chicharrones and all the good stuff, and it was a day-long type of thing, you know, and we had a very good time, yeah. So.
Were there petitions, or how did the report get written?
Well, that I don't know, because the committee that Manuel sent out, the team, they wrote a report, and then Manuel took that to Congress, and through on the House floor and the Senate floors where he got the funding done. Okay, but their report, it was a federal report, because the team that he sent out here was a federal team, and that report is what he pushed, and I'm sure he had to do some twisting of arms and stuff, you know, there, but he got the money. Okay, and that was it. That the primary health care center never, I still call it the primary health care center, never stopped. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, you know. And then at the time, I was a county attorney. Okay, so we had to look into land. We had to look into get the county commission. Juan Sanchez and Dave Santillanes were commissioners at the time, and they were very instrumental in talking the rest of the commission into providing the land and so on, because they needed land and, you know, to get the buildings built. And that took some commission meetings, some public meetings, okay, and Dave Santillanes and Juan Sanchez. Juan was a commissioner from the South Valley. Dave Santillanes was a commissioner from the North Valley at the time, and Corky Morris was on the commission, and he was very instrumental with. I think that gave the majority. Corky, Juan, and Dave, I think, were the three that pushed for the county to cooperate with them to get the thing built. Okay.
Back in those days, did the valley get very much in politics, or did it take a lot of arm twisting?
Oh no, the valley's always been, you know, Mexicanos always, that's their life, politics. Okay, so the valley's always been very involved in politics, you know, and there's no doubt about that. You know, the biggest rallies and everything that used to happen usually were in the valley. Okay, so they had several commission meetings to get this approved, and Mela and Petra and Priscilla would have people. They'd round up people to go to the commission meetings. They'd pack the commission meetings, and that's what got things rolling. And so then they got the money, they got the land, and the agreements worked out, and that's what got the ball rolling. Okay, and then it never stopped. It kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you know, about 2 or 3 years ago, I got an award from First Choice for helping them do this, and I told them I don't deserve the award, because it was really those 3 ladies that pushed me, and Manuel that said, you know, like Chewy and St. Peter, they said, if these gals are trying to help themselves, if the community's trying to help themselves, we ought to help them, you know. So, and it never slowed down. It kept getting bigger and bigger, you know. So, thank you. Yeah. So that was the beginning. Okay, and then since then there's been I was county attorney for 19 years, and through those 19 years, those ladies came up and wanted some other things to make things bigger, and we worked on it. And but after it got started, it was easy, because everybody realized that it was needed. The first hurdle was to convincing the federal government that it was needed. Okay, and once that got going, the commission worked with they had a board that was set up. They've had 2 or 3 CEOs here, and I can't remember who they were now. And they had one at the very beginning that caused a lot of problems, if I remember right. Priscilla probably knows better than I do, and that kind of was going to mess things up, and he was a little controversial. But then they got rid of him, and then after that, everything started flowing again, and it went good. Okay. Yeah.
Can you think of anything else that you would want to make sure?
No, I just unless you have some specific questions, you know.
No, I don't have any specific ones. I just wanted to hear some of the best stories.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. How do you feel about your involvement? Does this feel like something that you're proud to have been part of?
Well, I'm very, like I say, I don't deserve the credit for getting the ball rolling because they had to push me. But I feel very proud that we did get involved, and I feel very proud of what First Choice has done, and Primary Healthcare Center and all of them, because it was, well, there's never, I think that once it got going, there's no doubt that it would do a lot of good for the community, okay? And I think that probably a lot of kids have grown up healthy here because of what happened, and that wouldn't have gotten primary care. And you know, I'm convinced that I was on the board of UNM Hospital for 8 years, and I'm convinced that the primary health care service is very important. If you don't catch illnesses at an early age, later on it's bad for the people that are sick, but it's also bad financially because then it takes a lot more to cure them than if you catch something right away at the beginning, you know, before it develops into a serious illness. So I think that one of the nicest things that's happened to the valley is the fact that this got started and that they have it here, you know. And now I understand they're in 3 or 4 counties, I think, you know. I understand they got about 300,000 employees, you know. They serve about 60,000 people, and diabetes is something that really affects Hispanics, and I think that my understanding is that about a third of the people that they serve here are diabetic, so that has certainly helped, you know. It's helped those people live longer and enjoy life, you know. So it's one of the wonderful things that has happened in the valley. A lot of wonderful things have happened in the valley, but I think probably that's the most important thing that's ever happened here. Okay.
Great, thank you very much.
You got it.